Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. I didn't expect to make a video so soon after my first one, but here we are. I actually really enjoyed making the first video and it got received very well by my friends and everyone who watched it. So I wanted to do a second one. So today I'm going to be giving a book recommendation for every month of the year, just solely based on vibes and when I read the book and what I thought about it and why you should read it in that season. So let's just get into it. I have a stack of books next to me. I actually chose them all from my physical collection, so there might be some holes behind me. I want to do that because they're all books that I read. I have some books that I read digitally, but most of my books that I read I have physically as well. And also so I can just hold them up and it would just be less boring than showing something on a screen instead of having it physically. So let's get started. The first book I want to talk about is the book for January, which is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. I personally read this, I think, in like December or November, I don't know, but it was a winter month. And as you can see from the cover too, Beartown is definitely set in winter. It's set in a Swedish town, which is like fully covered in snow. It's like a very heavy Swedish winter. That's also just why the vibes are so nice in winter and why January and not another winter month. Well, personally, I feel like January is such like a mellow, chill month right after the holidays. I don't know how to explain this, but this book feels very cold to me. And January also feels very cold to me because December is like Christmas and there's a lot of warmth, there's like holidays, whatever. And this is just cold. It's pure winter vibes, and that's what January is for me. The genre I have to describe it as is really hard. It's mostly literary fiction, I think, but it has some thriller elements, it has some romance elements. It's very hard to explain this book without spoiling things, but the characters in this book are just so great and you'll get so attached to them and you'll want to read the sequels as well. So that's the book for January, Beartown. Right, book for February. So February is still obviously a very cool month. Also gives me like these winter vibes still. We very often have snow in February, which we actually had snow this year in January. There's snow outside right now still. Last week there was snow, this week there's still snow. But for February we have From Lukov with Love. The reason I picked this is because obviously we have Valentine's Day in February, so that's why I picked a romance, but also because I feel like the winter months for me are very thriller heavy or fantasy heavy, and sometimes you just need like a fun little romance to spice things up. It's not like a typical very light fluffy romance. Usually this is the only book by her I actually read, so I can't say this with confidence, but I've heard this from other people. Her books are very slow burn, which this one certainly is, but I like that because it's not just like a lust driven romance, which is what kind of, I feel like those kinds of romances really got me out of romance. So that's why I recommend this one. Obviously we have an icy cover as well, which I personally don't like this cover at all. Like, what is that? Look at this. There's like a bouquet of flowers on ice. I don't know. It's not my thing, but you know, whatever. March was a very difficult month for me to pick one. The reason for that is because March is kind of like right in between winter and spring, but it's still not spring enough for me to recommend like an actual spring vibes book. We have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This book is actually what got me into literary fiction. This book felt very nostalgic for me. It's about two people who've known each other since they were very young and then had like a falling out, and then they reconnect again by developing a game together, which ends up being very successful. And then along the way, you meet a bunch of characters, and it's a very emotional book, I feel. Not necessarily in a sad way, also in a sad way, but also in a lot of other ways. This book for me just felt very nostalgic, even though like the nostalgia in this book was very focused at like 80s, 90s kids, which I am not. I don't know why, but March just gives me these vibes. Also, can we appreciate this beautiful edition? I got this one for my birthday because I never buy hardcovers myself. So for April, we have a book that I think everyone knows, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I wanted to make this video kind of include a bunch of different genres, and I feel like fantasy is always read in fall and winter and always set in fall, and this one isn't. This one is set in partially winter, partially spring. Most of it is set in the spring court, of course. If you've read this, you know, and if you haven't, you'll discover soon enough. Yeah, this is one of my favorite series. I really like this, and I feel like April's like the best month to read this because as soon as you progress in the series, I feel like the seasons kind of match up with the books you're reading. And I think it's safe to say that if you have read this one, you should definitely read the second one too, and then you'll be hooked. For May, we have one of my favorite books ever, and that is Magnolia Parks. This book is giving you May vibes because this book is actually set in a bunch of different seasons because it spans over like a few years, but most of it is set in kind of like between spring and summer. And also May is the month where it starts getting warmer, and that's usually when I start reading romances. And even though Magnolia Parks is categorized as a romance, I wouldn't go into reading that book thinking it's a romance because it's about a very toxic relationship. But it's not just about that. I feel like the characters are so interesting and there's a lot of drama, which I love. It's about London socialites and it's just the vibes are fully there. June, I have a book that is specifically set in June, which is Evenings and Weekends. I actually had this book in my previous video as well. Evenings and Weekends is literally set in June on the hottest day. This book actually takes place over multiple days, but most of the book, I think, is set in the hottest day of the year, which is apparently in June. I read this book in December or November, but I read it in winter. That was like kind of the polar opposite of it, and that kind of was the only reason why I didn't kind of get that same feeling. I don't know, there's a very big theme in this book about it being like super hot. Everything is kind of set around that super warm day, so that's why I would recommend reading it in June or at least in summer. All right, where were we? I think we are in July, and for July I have one of my favorite books again because of course I have to recommend a bunch of my favorite books, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Emily Henry is also one of my favorite authors, and I love all of her books except kind of People We Meet on Vacation. That one wasn't my favorite. As you can see, they're like right there. And Happy Place is definitely my favorite. This is a romance, if you didn't know. And this is about two people who used to be engaged and then they had, I don't know, they broke up because of miscommunication things. And then they go on a holiday with a friend group and they have to pretend they're still engaged because they haven't told them that they've broken up. And it gets kind of awkward. They end up, you know, rekindling and with help of their friends and being in this holiday setting. It takes place at a lake house. They, you know, manage to find love again. Usually I'm not a huge fan of second chance romances, but this just really did it for me because the characters were just so well written. All right, so we're nearing the end of summer and we have August up next. And for August, I have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I actually have like a huge stack of books next to me that I just picked them up. And I actually dropped this before filming this video, and now my corner, I don't know if you can see it, but this corner like bent over and part of it, yeah, I don't know. I managed to bend it back, but this is like a matte cover, so no little thing on there, which is a bit sad because I really care about keeping my books pristine. I'm also not a spine breaker, so. But no, for August we have Atmosphere, and the reason I chose Atmosphere is because it's set in mostly the end of summer and early fall, and then it transitions, the very last part transitions into winter. But most of it is set in summer, which is, I feel like most of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books are, so it was hard picking one to recommend. But this is the most recent one that came out and that I read. Most of her books are also set in a historical setting. So this actually takes place in 1980, I think. Yeah, 1980s. And it's about an astronaut, the first female astronaut to go into space. It's a really emotional book. Again, can you tell I'm into emotionally heavy books? If a book makes me feel something, then it's good. It's very fun to read about all these technical aspects of astronomy because there's a lot of technical terms being used and explained. So you have to be into that, but I feel like it was very easily digestible. And now we're actually turning into the fall vibes. Well, for me, September is like the start of fall. It might still be really hot, but I don't care. It's fall time. For September, we have a classic, which is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. These books are just so heartwarming and I don't know, they always entertain me and I love reading them in like the fall months. I actually have them, let me count them. There's 5 books now, but I think there is more coming, but they have to be translated from Japanese and it always takes like over a year. So I think the next one is already out in Japanese, but not in English yet. But these books are basically always set up as 4 short stories. And these short stories always take place in the same cafe where all of the books are set. And they kind of encounter the same characters, but it's always kind of about a different character. Yeah, they're always very emotional books. There's sometimes like a little twist. It's very fun. Most short stories are just like 50 pages. So it's very easily digestible. So there you go. There's my recommendation for September. Oh my God. I just noticed that my October recommendation also has received some damage from the fall. But my October recommendation is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. And as you can see, a little dent over there. But the reason I'm recommending Survive the Night is because this book is set in just one night, as the title suggests. Not necessarily in a specific season, but I feel like October, it has to be a thriller because it's spooky month. Survive the Night is just very thrilling. Usually books that are set in just one evening feel very dragged out to me, but this one has really short chapters. It's very fast paced and it's also a very interesting story. So it kind of all takes place during a car ride, and our main character kind of has a feeling that she's being abducted of some sorts, but she kind of doesn't want to give in to that feeling. And then, you know, you'll have to read it to find out what happens. This is actually one of my favorite thrillers, I think. Also, Riley Sager is one of my favorite thriller authors, which I mentioned in the previous video as well. Just a really fun read. For November, we have a book that just, to me, feels like November, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And very ironically, her name has become indeed invisible on my copy. The reason I'm recommending this is because this book just feels autumnal, even though part of it is set in different seasons, because this book spans over like 300 years. So we have a bunch of different seasons, but a lot of it is set in like New York in the fall, and it gives me like academic vibes, even though it's not necessarily set in an academic setting. So it's about this girl in France in 1714, and she makes a deal with kind of the devil to live forever. But the catch is that no one remembers her. You know, you might meet her and then you'll turn away for a second and you'll see her again and you won't know who she is. That's like a super interesting concept, and it's done so well. It's so good. I also read this in France when I was there on holiday, I think like 2 or 3 years ago. That was just like the perfect setting because part of the book is set in France. All right, the very last book we have, my pile of books is starting to fall. The last book we have for December is A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. Again, I just had to include 2 Fredrik Backman books because he's one of my favorite authors. His books are always just so wintry. Also because they're always set in Sweden, of course. This is translated from Swedish. And they're usually set in like the heavy Swedish winters, which just really adds to all the wintry vibes, especially now that there's snow outside. And A Man Called Ove is a very heartwarming book about this old guy who is basically all alone, and he kind of hates everyone and everything. Then he gets new neighbors and he kind of learns to make friends again, even though these neighbors he initially really hates, and then he kind of starts to rekindle with the whole town. It's a very heartwarming story. It's also very sad. There's a lot of emotions, but the characters, again, are just so good and so well done. All right, so those were 12 books that I recommended for every month of the year. I just want to show you like the stack because I have it right here and I really hope I don't drop it again. Here we are. This is the entire stack, and I wanted to show you because look at the gradient it creates. Like, this is actually in order from the bottom to the top from January to December. But look at that gradient, like it's perfect. Okay, I'm so scared it's gonna fall again, and I still need to make a thumbnail as well, but whatever. All right, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. This might have been a bit of a shorter one. I'm not sure, we'll see in editing. And if you enjoy these kinds of videos, please let me know. I really enjoy making them. I can't promise I'll make a video every week because this takes a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time. It was really fun to do. And also if you have any ideas of topics that I should cover, let me know, because currently I have no idea what kinds of videos I should make. I just really love yapping, and then why not post it on the internet? Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.